From set photos revealing two new antagonists for HBO Max's The Penguin, to potential storylines that the spin-off series might adapt, here's everything you need to know about The Penguin's newest villains. And I'll kick this off with Clancy Brown playing Gotham City crime boss Salvatore Maroni. That's right, Variety revealed that he'll have a recurring role in this series, and considering that The Penguin's gonna last for 8-hour-long episodes, I'm assuming that he'll be the overarching villain that Colin Farrell will be up against. What's really interesting though is that Maroni was mentioned a bunch of times in The Batman. You can see him on a TV screen where he was played by an extra, and that he's been arrested in the largest drug bust in Gotham City Police's history. But that wasn't a coincidence. It was a strategic move set up by Carmine Falcone and a bunch of corrupt city officials, and this left a huge power vacuum in the city's underworld. Someone had to rise up and take Marconi's place, and it was supposed to be Carmine. But he gets sniped by the Riddler before any of that can happen. So there goes that plan, right? Well, not quite, but I'll get into that in a moment. I want to address Clancy Brown as Salvatore Maroni, because we might be getting a real menace this time around. Eric Roberts has played in Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight, and David Zayas did a stand-up job playing a different version in the Gotham series. But the thing about Brown is that he can bring an over-the-top, sinister edge to the character. I know that he's typecast in villainous roles in movies and animated shows, but I can also appreciate why. His voice sends shivers down your spine. It's deep and powerful, and I feel like it'll lend itself really well to Maroni's character.
Animals to abuse, soft flesh to violate, to tear and bite.
In The Dark Knight, Roberts couldn't really flex his acting muscles because he was a supporting character. He only had a few scenes with Christian Bale, so we couldn't get a full-fledged villain who could make Gotham tremble. David Zayas came close, but I'd argue that Clancy Brown has the physical and vocal presence to really nail the character's vice-like grip over Gotham City. Plus, this isn't the first time that Brown is contributing his talents to the DC Universe. Between 1996 and 2006, he voiced Lex Luthor in the Superman, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited animated series. He even voiced Surtur in the MCU's Thor Ragnarok. So rest assured, DC fans, Clancy's gonna be great. I already know he'll make the role his own, and probably make it one of the most iconic portrayals of a DC villain ever. Maroni's intense rivalry with Penguin in Gotham was really fun to watch. He was always able to get under Penguin's skin and make fun of his nickname, which he knew he hated. So adding little details like that into the series will make it that much better. Besides, the show is about the Penguin's rise to power. He's a low-level gangster in The Batman, and he's nothing out of the ordinary. He has influence and power, sure, but it's not as much as Carmine's, or in fact anyone else's. So following his evolution from that to the mastermind we get in the comics will be pretty interesting. But I did mention a second villain. You probably already know that Kristen Milioti will be starring as Carmine's daughter, Sofia Falcone. The news isn't new, and people have known about it since last year. But a couple of set photos just leaked online, and we know what version of the character she's going to be playing. This is the first time we're seeing her in character, and I have to say she isn't what I was expecting. And that's a good thing. Actually, a Twitter account that shares updates on everything related to Batman tweeted that she looks more like Talia Shire from the Godfather trilogy. And I agree. She's got a modern Connie Corleone aesthetic about her. Fans know Sophia from The Long Halloween and Dark Victory, two of the greatest comic book storylines written by Jeff Loeb. And in them, Sophia is introduced as the Falcone's family's enforcer. She's really short-tempered and won't hesitate to shoot you in the head if you act funny around her. And now that the Penguin will show us a full-blown mob war between Gotham's most powerful crime families, Sophia is next in line for the throne. And word on the street is that her brother Alberto will be joining her as the siblings make their claim for the city. Now, there's an interesting detail about Sophia's character in the leaked set photos. They show that Kristen won't need to sit through extensive hair and makeup processes. And that's another thing that makes this version of the character different from her comic book counterpart. She's wearing a simple white overcoat, which is similar to what she wears in the comics. But she doesn't have the well-built bouncer look we see in The Long Halloween. Instead, the series will focus on developing her into a character just as dangerous as her brother or father. Kristen has her game face on in the photos, and her expression looks merciless, as though she's on her way to a sit-down between the families and she knows something they don't. She looks less like a businesswoman and more like royalty fit for Gotham's seedy underbelly. I like that, though I'm curious about the storyline. Which storyline will the showrunners choose to adapt for the show? Well, The Long Halloween seems like the obvious choice. Both her brother and Catwoman are involved in it, and she has an intense fight with Catwoman that ends up in her smashing through a window and falling to her death. If you haven't read the comic, then I won't say much more, because it spoils several twists that come later. But I'm pretty sure that they're going to adapt it differently for the show. For one thing, Selina Kyle is Carmen's half-daughter in The Batman, so that's definitely going to complicate things between them. But knowing how ruthless Sophia is, I don't think it'll matter. She'll want revenge for the death of her father, and I think she'll focus more on filling the power vacuum Carmen and Maroni left in their wake. But there's also another side to this coin. As of right now, we don't know how Sophia will challenge the Penguin. I mean, it's his show, so he's obviously going to butt heads with her at some point. But the set photos reveal a different tale. They show the two characters enjoying what seems like a pleasant meal. And this begs the question, will the Penguin be about them joining forces and working to bring Maroni down? Or will they have their own separate agendas and will eventually get in each other's way? Or maybe it's a mix of both. Knowing Sophia, it's easy to assume that she'll stab the Penguin in the back. And knowing Oswald Cobblepot, he'll have a similar scheme up his sleeve. The footage revealed so far shows him with another character known as Victor. Now, it's obvious that Victor is going to be an informant of some sort, or maybe even an assistant. Maybe he's the one who helps Penguin make his next moves. Nothing's 100% certain right now. But there's also the argument that the first half of the series will be dedicated to taking Maroni down. And after that, all bets are off. Sophia will want dominion over Gotham, and Cobblepot will want his slice of the pie too. There'll be another power struggle between the two of them and their limited resources. And it's just a matter of time before we find out who'll come out on top. And that's all I have today on the Penguin's two new villains and how they'll challenge Oswald Cobblepot in a bid for Gotham's soul.